Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Art Side of Life, where it's all about how you can turn your creative passion into a profession. My name is Eva and my guest today is an illustrator, animator, designer, artist and a YouTuber from Colorado, United States. She studied at 2 universities and holds a degree in painting and graphic design and another one in 3D animation. She has a very popular YouTube channel where she makes art videos of all kinds, including speed drawing videos, tutorials, challenges, and other fun things. She started the YouTube channel to motivate herself to make more of her art and inspire young or aspiring artists. What a great motivation! She mostly uses watercolor and Copics on her YouTube channel, but she is also experienced in watercolors, oil, digital, and 3D work. So please welcome Alice Coles, better known on YouTube as Hullo Alice. And let's get to the interview. So welcome everyone to the next episode of Art Side of Life, and I'm super excited to have my guest here today. Hi, Alice.
Hi!
And let's start with your background as usual with all the other guests as well. We go right at the beginning, and I would like to know, what was your creative outlet when you were a child?
So my parents were both into art. My mom had an art room when I was growing up, so we had a whole room dedicated to art. So I've kind of just been like drawing ever since I was a kid. So I would make like tiny little like kids books, like illustrated books. Like I'd do like Little Red Riding Hood and stuff like that. And me and my mom and my Nana would all make art together, and we'd make like little fairy houses. And I grew up in England, so there was a lot of like, I don't know, like history there and like magic, I guess. So that was always like really inspiring to me as a kid.
Ah, that's perfect. Did you go to some like old ruins and castles and these kind of things as well?
Yeah, definitely. There was like this one place called Triangle Lodge by the town that I grew up in, and everything was a triangle. Like the whole building was a triangle, and there were triangles all inside the building. Like the guy really liked triangles. So that was like one of the places we used to go. We would have like picnic lunches, and I had a stay-at-home mom at the time, so it was just a lot of like fun, creative, artsy stuff all the time.
Oh, perfect. And so how was the conversation when you told your parents that you want to do like art professionally? Do you remember?
Yeah, so I was actually really, really lucky. I've had very, very supportive parents in terms of my art, especially my mom, just because she is an artist and they've kind of encouraged me to do art my whole life. So I had thought about going into writing, but I think my parents had always known I was going to go into like a creative career. So they were just like, okay, cool, go to an in-state school because that's cheaper. And I was like, all right. So they were really supportive of it. And I've always kind of had an idea of a job that I wanted, even though that job changed. I've always had a direction that I'm going, and I've always had a plan. Like I have a very big planner for the future. Like I always have like a 4-year plan or whatever.
Perfect.
So I think that really helped.
So when did you, like, how old were you when you decided like, okay, I want to set this goal, and maybe what was the goal?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of goals.
Or more, yeah.
Yeah, but well, through high school, I actually wanted to be a writer. For the first like 2 years, I wanted to go into journalism or creative writing. And then like kind of my junior year, which is like the third year of high school, I had to go and like talk to the counselor, and I talked to her and I was like, okay, I'm thinking about journalism, I'm thinking about marine biology, and I was thinking about illustrating children's books. And I kind of like went through all three. And she was like, okay, I only saw you light up when you talked about art. And I was like, cool, I'll do that then.
That's a good counselor.
Yeah. But according to my diary, when I start like my summer after my senior year, after I graduated, I wanted to be an art teacher. I have like no memory of this, but it's written down like in my writing. So apparently it was true. But when I got to school, I wanted to do children's books. And then halfway through school, I decided I wanted to do concept art. And it's just the plan has just evolved since then. It's evolved even further now. But I feel like it's okay to change kind of your direction so long as you know where you're going. So.
And which were kind of like the biggest decisions you had to do to follow your passion?
Probably the biggest or almost like the scariest decision for me was deciding to go back to school. So I went I graduated. I went straight to a 4-year college, graduated in 4 years, kind of did the very traditional thing. But then after that, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do or
Mm-hmm.
like how to start doing things. After I graduated college, I really wasn't sure kind of what I wanted to do. Like I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't really know how to get there. So I went to Europe and I lived in Europe for 6 months, and then I like backpacked around. I went to Indonesia and worked at a restaurant, like did art by myself. Like I just kind of did all this stuff, and I made the decision after 2 years to go back and get a second bachelor's of fine arts degree. So I actually have two of the same degree in animation because I felt like animation would be the best kind of thing to get me started on the path that I had wanted to take. And that was like a really scary decision because obviously it's a lot of money and a lot of time, but I think
Yeah.
overall it was a good decision for my life.
And it was the same school.
It was actually a different school.
Different.
So the school that I went to the first time didn't have an animation program. So
Mm.
my degree from there is in painting and graphic design. I had two concentrations, and then I went to there's a dedicated art school in Colorado called Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design, and that's where I went for my second degree.
Ah, cool. And so what did you do after school? Did you like right away started to look for jobs, or did you send out some portfolios to some studios? So how did that look like?
So I've had a very weird sort of trajectory with my life. Things have kind of just fallen into place, I guess. So, like I said, after I graduated for the first time, I moved to Europe. I had a job as it was called a resident coordinator at a study center in Castiglione Fiorentino, which is in Florence, which is in Tuscany, Italy, about an hour away from Florence. So I did that. And then like I said, I went back to university, and after my second year at my second degree, I applied for and received a artist in residence position that worked with the arts district that was in that city. So it was like the arts district partnered with the school and got a student, and I came in and was the artist in residence for that year. But I became artist in residence in April and I graduated in August. So when I graduated, I kept doing the artist in residence thing. But I also had been working for a security software company for about 4 years. It's actually my dad's company, and I was brought in to just kind of like run social media because at the time, like no one there really knew how Facebook worked, and I was like, sure, I'll help out. Exactly. And then I ended up doing like a little bit of part-time graphic design work, like 10 hours a week. And I just kind of did that throughout, for the past like couple years just to help out. But right around the time that I graduated, they actually lost their video person who was making all of their videos. So I was like, I know how to do that. So like I just graduated with animation. So I ended up moving and taking on 25 hours there doing video work, so marketing videos and training videos. And then after my year of the artist in residence position ended, because it was a year-long position, I moved up to full-time there, and that's what my day job is. I make videos. So
And kind of what inspired you to do YouTube? Or was there some mentor, or how did this kind of became a thing for you?
So there's two things that inspired me to start YouTube. So the first is the YouTuber Bailey J, who is a big YouTuber in our art community. I really liked her vlogs and her art channel, and it just seemed like a lot of fun. So her, and then there was a couple others, art by Karen E. Haley, Miss Carrie J, and Saku M's. They were kind of all some of the art YouTubers, and I was like, I didn't know that this was like a thing on YouTube. And I found them and I was like, this is so cool. But the biggest reason I started my YouTube was all through college. So when I was 18, I applied for a job online at working at one of my favorite websites at the time called Subeda. And it was an artist job. So I was drawing like little items it was like a game. So I was drawing like little items for people to buy and clothes they could dress up their like avatars in. And I did that for 8 years. And when you combine working an artistic job plus going to school, having two concentrations, And I was also an RA. Like I was working two to three jobs at one time at all times for the past like since I was 18. I just wasn't making any art for myself at
Yeah.
all. And I was like, if I start a YouTube channel, it'll force me to make art for myself. And then I thought it'd be really cool to like see it all sped up and played back. So mostly it was just for me to like force myself to make art and because I thought it would look cool.
And do you do Twitch as well? Now a lot of artists are moving also there.
Yeah, so I've done a few Twitch streams in the past. I haven't done too many and I don't have a schedule yet, but it's something that I've really enjoyed. It's really cool to connect with people in that media. And I definitely want to like incorporate more Twitch streams as things go along. But it's really fun and I think it's a really cool thing for artists to do and I definitely want to do more of it.
Yeah, and so you have a lot of experience now with YouTube as well. And if someone would like to do what you do now, can you share some tips and tricks what you learned so far? Or something the most interesting thing?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, everyone always says, like, you have to do it because you love it. You can't do it for the money. I think that's pretty standard what most people say, which is true because, you know, it's really not like a super profitable thing unless you have like 1 billion subscribers or like PewDiePie and stuff like that. But I would say it doesn't take that much to start, so don't be intimidated to start. I started with a $60 webcam from Walmart, and before that I just used the camera that I had lying around. And especially with like phones the way they are now, the quality that you get on your phone, I mean, you can use your phone to start filming. There's so many options. So don't be afraid, especially if you're going into art YouTube. We have one of the most supportive communities I've ever found on YouTube. I hardly ever get hate comments. So trust me, you're probably not going to get hate comments. And yeah, just do it because you don't know what's going to happen, and I always feel like it's better to do something and then decide you don't like it than to never do it and then you never know.
Yeah. So you will not basically regret that you haven't tried or you haven't started, because if it doesn't go well or you don't like it, then you can always stop.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you don't like it, just stop doing it. So just try, and it's fun. And yeah.
And what would you think it was like a best advice you ever received, and maybe also the worst advice?
The best advice I've ever received, I know this like right off the bat. So my art teacher in high school, her name was Miss Johnson, and she gave me two pieces of advice. And the first was when I was comparing myself to somebody else. There was this amazing artist in our school. She was so good. And my art teacher, she was like, it's apples and oranges, baby girl. It's apples and oranges. She's like, you can't compare your art to them because you're not them and your art is different. And you can't compare something so subjective. But the second thing, which is what I live by, is whenever we weren't like inspired, she would just run around to us and she'd be like, make art, make good art, make art. And she just like so much energy, just like make art. And so whenever I'm just like sitting there and like I need to make art, I hear her voice in my head, make art, make art.
So he's like, make art, make art, make art.
Yeah,
oh, perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we need to have some positive people around us just to motivate. So
yeah, exactly. And like bad advice, I don't know if I've really gotten any bad advice. I mean, I've had people like tell me like, oh, isn't that like a risky career and stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't know, so's everything. Have you seen the economy? Like, you know, you think that like being an executive in like an office is a stable career, and then that office goes under. Like, you never know what life is gonna give to you. So I'm not gonna like try to create security when literally the next day your whole life could turn upside down for some unrelated reason anyway. So
yeah, so you also believe into the combining different income streams, I guess, because you also have you said you have a full-time job, right? And then you also have a different income. So how do you combine your incomes? Do you sell art prints, or how do you basically earn money?
yeah, so definitely the bulk of my money comes from my 9 to 5 job, but I'm a big proponent in not putting all your eggs in one basket. My ultimate goal right now, as I've said, my goal changes like every 5 minutes, is I would like about half of my income to come from YouTube, Twitch, selling prints, any cons I do, merch, and like any sponsored stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I'd like the other half of I'd actually like to run my own motion graphics business, like independent motion graphics business, doing freelance. Oh, and freelance illustration too, like for children's books and stuff like that. That's kind of what I'd like. Like that's my like kind of like my 10-year plan right now. I think that would be really cool and kind of work 35 hours each. Right now, most of my income just comes from a 9 to 5, and then YouTube is like a little bit extra. I'm working on setting up a print store, and like I know all these options to increase income. I just don't have a lot of free time. But yeah, I definitely think that as an artist, like it's good to have the most successful artists that I look at out there and the people that I look up to, they all have all these different things going on. Like I have a friend that takes people on retreats to Italy, like art retreats, but she also
Nice.
sells her art, right? It's a really cool job. So I think with art especially, it's good because then if something dries up or something's slow, you have all these other things going on. And also I think it keeps people creative to be doing lots of different things.
Yeah, definitely. And I also like these like art trips because I remember when I was also in art school when I was a kid, they took us to Italy and then you can draw there and it's like super inspirational. So that's actually quite interesting idea. And I heard also in the movies they go for locations, right, to just to get inspiration. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a good way to get inspiration. So I was like, that is the coolest business idea I've ever heard.
And so when you are also like getting sponsorships maybe or selling art prints, so for sponsors, do you contact them or they contact you? Or, and how do you choose when to say maybe no and what is going on in your head to like decline projects maybe?
So I'm very picky about sponsors. I think the fact that YouTube isn't my main income really helps me to be able to do that. So generally, they will contact me and I will do a little research into the company. I will see if it feels like a good fit for my channel, if it feels like something that my viewers would be interested in. Sometimes I have like random like nail polish companies contact me and I'm like, will you wash my channel? Or like makeup. I'm like, I mean, yes, send me makeup, but like that's not really. So I'm very picky about that. Like I want it to be a good fit for my channel. I want it to be something my subscribers will be interested in. I also like to work with companies that I have a good feeling about.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I look at their stuff and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna like this, I'm like more hesitant to try it out. I like to have a good like my gut feeling, you know what I mean? I rely on that a lot. Occasionally I do contact companies, very rarely, but I did contact the Portable Painter Kickstarter and I was like, hey, would you like me to feature this on your channel? Because I just thought it was such a cool idea and I really wanted to give them more like exposure and get their name out there. So occasionally I will do that just if it's something that I think is really cool or that I really believe in.
And what do you think is better, to ask them what is their budget for the exposure, or do you tell them what would be your fee? Kind of what is the approach?
What I tend to do is, and say I tend to do because I've only just started doing this before I'd just be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Or like, or do it for free, which you shouldn't do. But I have started basically, I'll say this is my rate, and then I say the math that I use to come up with that rate. So like my videos on average get X many views. This is based on a CPM, which is like, I think it means like clicks per mil. I don't know what it means, but it's like X per thousand of this. And then I'll say, does that fit into your budget? Let me know. And, and then if they say no, then depending on how interested I am or whatever, I'll be like, what is your budget? Let's see if we can work something out.
Yeah, that makes sense, definitely. And so if you are kind of thinking as well, like when you said you just started this, doing also with the sponsorships but the whole art career you are doing for a longer time. And can you think about something like the most difficult moment or difficult time or something that you wish you knew before you started the whole thing?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So definitely, probably the most difficult moment was kind of when I was starting out and I just didn't really know what I was going to do. So that like weird 2-year gap between graduating my first college, CSU, and going to my second college. That was just hard. I didn't really know what I was doing. And I don't know. That was just like a rough period. I like having direction. I didn't have a direction and it was really, really bumming me out. But the thing that I wish I had known was that it's okay for your direction to change. I've been passionate about a lot of things in my life, and they've all been art related. But as my life has changed, I've come to realize that some of those things aren't the best fit for me. A lot of people that watch my channel may know that I, up until very recently, wanted to be a concept artist for the animation field. And while I would still absolutely love to do that, don't get me wrong, that's no longer kind of my 10-year plan because of various reasons related to like you have to live in California pretty much, like it's super competitive, like there's other things that I also really enjoy. Like I found myself falling in love with motion graphics, and that's kind of what's calling me right now. So I think it's okay for your direction to change, and it doesn't mean that you're giving up on your dreams just because you change your dream. Like if we didn't change, we would be really like stubborn, boring people. So
Yeah, but I totally agree, because also up till last year I was like, "Ooh, I will be a concept artist for a big studio." And then I also saw like the requirements and how is the work life and everything, and I'm like, maybe not.
yeah, like do I really want to work like 70 plus hours a week for somebody else when I could like work for myself and like, do all of this and live wherever I want? And I don't know, that just seems like
Exactly.
that's more appealing.
So people should just, think about what are their priorities. If the priority is like, okay, I really want to work for a big studio, like that's what I'm going for, or I want to travel more, or I want to be more flexible. So you just need to think what you want actually, right? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it's more than just the job. It's also about, like you said, your priorities in life. So
Yeah, perfect. Then, so when you do also so many things, like so many projects and works and jobs and stuff, so how do you design your day? Or do you do something daily which contributes to your success?
it's funny because I was looking at this question. I am like the most disorganized human being to ever walk this planet. I buy a new planner like every month, and I'm like, this is gonna be the planner. This is the one. Like, I have sort of cleaned up behind me for this.
Just in that frame.
Yeah, yes, the rest of my apartment is like a dump right now because I got really sick. So I do have I bullet journal, which has been really helping me over the past couple months. It's basically a system where you take it's an organizational system, which I really like. But honestly, I just try to fit in stuff where I can. I'm trying to film on the weekends, but I can't always do that. So sometimes my videos go up on Friday. Sometimes I'll be filming on Wednesday or even Thursday. I'm also a big procrastinator, and I have pretty severe ADHD. And by the time I get home from work, my meds have mostly worn off. So it's a lot of like forcing myself to not watch like Friends and instead make art. So I wish I could say like I have this thing that like really gets me organized and stuff like that. But honestly, I just sort of like barrel through life and try to grab all the things and like handle all the things at the same time. And, I think that's just part of who I am. And I think it's part of one of the things, like I think it informs my art, like my spontaneity and stuff like that. And I probably will never be one of those super organized people. I'm working towards that. But just, working on my self-discipline, that's what helps me.
But it's really good to know also what are your strengths and weaknesses. And for example, with art, do you do, or some artists work, oh, I want to like strengthen my strengths, and for the weaknesses, I maybe hire someone else. So how do you do it? Do you kind of try to balance out everything, or do you work on one thing which you are good at?
Kind of both. So it really depends. If I'm feeling kind of lazy, I'll definitely rely on the stuff that I'm better at, but I'm still actively trying to improve. So probably for me, the biggest thing is my anatomy. I'm really trying to improve my anatomy, especially in like my more cartoon work. I don't know why I put air quotes cartoon.
Cartoon work.
Right. But yeah, so I'm really trying to improve my anatomy right now, but sometimes it can also get exhausting when you're trying to work on something and it's just not clicking. And I think if you're in that position and you're just burnt out, it's okay to just kind of take a step back and go do something that you're good at. Like I am really proud of the way that I can use color, especially in some of my more realistic work. So if I'm really frustrated, I'm like, okay, let's go do something that I know that I can do and that, kind of can recharge you and get you more excited to tackle it again.
Yeah, and I really love the video you did for a motivation and how you can get yourself going again. So we can put it in a show note so our audience can check it out. And you mentioned the journal and like the bullet points and planning. Do you have some favorite tools or brands you use, like maybe for painting or favorite pen or something?
Yeah, so I have a bunch. So I won't go into all of them, but I use these all the time. The what are they? My Pigma Microns. I use these for like almost all of my ink. For the bullet journal, I just got these like Crayola fine super tip things. These work really well for journaling. And then for art, definitely my Daniel Smith watercolor paints. I use those for most of my paintings now. They're just super pigmented. I've been really liking the black velvet silver brushes. They're not vegan, so if anyone's vegan, but they are half synthetic, half squirrel hair, and they're like probably the best brushes I've ever used. And then honestly, I'm in love with my portable painter. Like,
oh, that looks cool.
It's so cool. Like you like open it and it like sets up and it's got like water things and you can like put it on your knee and like I honest to God, like it was like I reached out to them and then I was like, I'm so glad I did because I love this. I use it a lot. So those are probably my favorite art supplies.
And what is the brand of the watercolor thingy?
This guy, so it's just called a portable painter. It's the only thing they sell. Yeah, and it like does this and it like puts together and it's like it has your paints in it. It's really cool.
Nice. So yeah. Do you go paint outside as well a lot or it's more sketching or?
Yeah, I do work outside, not a huge amount just because right now in Colorado, I go to work and then we have a thunderstorm like every afternoon. So I get off work and it's like tipping it down with rain and then it's like night. So yay. But I do like to paint outside whenever I can. I think it's good to get out of your bubble and like get into a new environment. I also really like to paint in coffee shops a lot. Coffee shops and sometimes like food, like I'm going to eat and stuff like that. Yeah. So.
Oh, perfect. And do you also work digitally? I saw, right? So do you use like Wacom Cintiq or like Intuos or like with Photoshop, or do you use tablet with Procreate or something else?
Yeah, definitely. So I love working digitally. I don't do it very often, but I really love it. I used to have an Intuos, but it broke. So now I have the 13 HD Cintiq. It's like it's like the baby one, but I like it. And I use Photoshop for everything. Photoshop, I love Photoshop. Photoshop is like bae. Like I love Photoshop so much.
The go-to thing.
Yeah, I've been using Photoshop like my whole life. I know it better than any other software. Like I love Photoshop.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And can you recommend maybe some books you like or something which you would give as a gift, or also movies or documentaries?
So I love concept art books. That's for me some of the most inspirational. So for a lot of my art friends, I would definitely give them concept art books. Especially the Tangled concept art book is like beyond beautiful. And as far as movies, I mostly watch, like I usually just watch Disney movies. I don't really watch that many art movies. I know there's like one that I've seen and it was really good, but I can't think of it. Oh, but there is a TV show that Doctor Who. There's an episode called Vincent and the Doctor, and the Doctor meets Vincent van Gogh, and the end of that episode, Bill Nye plays like this museum curator, and they bring Van Gogh actually into the future to see the impact that he's made on people and how popular his art is. And Bill Nye gives this whole speech about how Van Gogh took the pain that he was in and he transformed it into unimaginable beauty, and that nobody had ever done that before. And it's in my opinion, one of the most beautiful scenes in all television. And it's a beautiful speech, and I think it can resonate with a lot of artists because a lot of us are struggling with so many things. And the idea that we can take our struggles and turn them into something that is beautiful and gives back to the world, I think is a really special thing that artists can do. And so I love that episode and I love that scene. I think it's very powerful.
Oh, perfect. And do you have like a favorite quote maybe as well from that, or some different one you like?
So yeah, definitely that, but I don't know it off the top of my head. And then honestly, like just like make art, make good art. But it's from my teacher.
But it's good, good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really great quotes about art out there. One of my favorite ones is I don't know it like word for word, but Picasso basically said like you have to know the rules before you break them. And I firmly, firmly believe in that. I believe in learning the fundamentals. I don't think you have to be perfect at the fundamentals before you start doing other stuff, but I think it's really important to learn the fundamentals and to continuously work on them because people will be like, oh, it's my style that her arm is coming out of her head. And I'm like, that is awesome. But you better know that her arm doesn't actually come out of her head because otherwise that's not a style. That's just a mistake. Like, I think that if you know the rules that you're breaking intentionally, then it's an intentional decision. But if it's an accident, then you can't say it's intentional.
Exactly, because as I recall, like Picasso was able to draw like super photorealistic when he was like 15, so his fundamentals was were amazing, and then afterwards he was like, oh, okay, now I'm bored, so let's try something else.
Yep, exactly. Like he knew his stuff, so all of his decisions were 100% intentional.
Yeah. And so we talked about your day and projects and income. So what are your now recent projects you're excited about, and maybe something which is coming up now? And how do you find new projects?
Yeah, so I actually have some stuff that I'm really excited about working on. I've just kind of recently decided to start trying to build my business more, like my Hullo Alice business or whatever. I just did a Comic-Con, which was awesome. I got to meet some subscribers there, and that was really, really great. And then I'm working on setting up a print store, so like figuring out all of that stuff. My website I'm trying to get set up, and I'm also working on kind of looking into some more freelance illustration stuff. I'd really love to get into illustrating some more books. I've illustrated a couple in the past, and I'd love to do some more. So I've just kind of started doing a lot of research right now, in the research phase of figuring out how to like contact all these people. I've been like contacting indie book publishers, all of this kind of stuff. And then I also do have a couple like kind of collabs with other YouTube artists that are going to be coming up sometime soon. And I'm super excited about those.
Oh, nice. So how do you maybe contact people, or what is maybe the most difficult part about it?
Well, it really depends, but for trying to contact like book publishers and stuff like that, it's really hard to find like contact information. All of them don't have stuff for artists. And the thing that really irritates me is half of them are like, mail us your art. Like, it's not original. They don't want you to mail original art. They want you to mail prints. But I'm like, it is 2017. Okay. Like, I should not have to go to the store and pay to print out a bunch of prints and then pay to mail them to you. No, just use email like a normal person. Like, this is unnecessary in every single way. So that's irritating. In terms of like meeting other YouTubers and stuff like that, Twitter is definitely where it's at. Like, I never used Twitter. And I started using it so I could like talk to other YouTube artists. Yeah. And a lot of us talk on Discord, and because that's how we communicate for the YouTube Artist Collective. Oh, but when I first started talking to them, it was all over Twitter. So.
Oh, okay, interesting, perfect. And so let's talk about future. And you mentioned some of your goals, like around 10 years time. And what would be your dream scenario? Like, what are you doing in 5 to 10 years if you are doing everything what you want?
Yeah. So okay, right now, because like I said, things change. I feel like I would work from home and I would have like a nice studio, and I'd like wake up and take my dog out. We'd go on like a nice walk, and then I'd like, kind of spend the morning like working on kind of like social media and like replying to stuff. And then maybe I'd like make art, and I'd probably have like, and then I'd like vary between that and like doing animation. So like half my income, like 35 hours or so, 35 hours would be doing like independent motion graphics for companies, like working on marketing videos and commercials and things like that. And then the other half would be making art, like making videos and illustrating books and, running my social media and stuff like that. So I just think it would be really nice to kind of set my day and be able to wake up not that early because I don't like the mornings.
Yeah, I think, yeah, either like you are a night person or morning person, and then it's difficult if you have to follow the other one. You are not.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely a night person.
And if you would think about like really far, far in the future, what would you like to be remembered for in like 100 years?
I would like to be remembered for probably helping people. I don't think that I'm like one of those artists that's going to be in the history books. Like, and I think that's okay. Like, I mean, it'd be really cool, but like, I think I'm just like an average artist who really enjoys her art. But I think the thing that people really subscribe to me for is I think I can kind of connect with people and I can connect with the younger generation. And I've had a lot of people tell me that I can inspire them. And I try to like really talk to people because I've been through a lot, when I was that age, and I've dealt with a lot of bullying and a lot of stuff like that. So I like my art and I'm happy with my art, and it'd be cool if people remembered my art, but I'd really love to be remembered for being like a kind person who helps people and who inspires people. Like, because if I can inspire like a bunch of artists, and that's like so many more artists that will make art for the world. So that's kind of cooler than just my art. Like, that's a bunch of art that maybe I helped. So
oh, that's perfect. And what would be your kind of biggest inspiration, or do you have something strange which inspires you?
Well, like I said, Disney movies really inspire me. Music really inspires me, but that's not really that strange. I'm mostly inspired by pretty traditional stuff. Sometimes I get like weird inspirations, but mostly it's other artists. I'm really inspired by traditionally like the pre-Raphaelites and the Impressionists. And my favorite artist, his name is Sir Joseph Mallord William Turner, and the way he paints light like makes me want to cry. It's so beautiful. So I really get inspired by that. Oh, there is a weird thing I'm inspired by. I don't paint a lot of artwork about this on my channel, but it's a lot of my personal artwork. I'm really inspired by femininity and gender and kind of like the gender roles that society places on us, and how I feel like as a woman, there's a lot of contradictions that we're told. Like, you need to be beautiful, but you can't be too beautiful. And if you're too beautiful, then people will like stare at you. But if you're not beautiful enough, then you're not feminine. And like, I just think there's a lot of contradictions that we're constantly being told. And I am very interested in exploring that. And a lot of my more personal artwork does explore that. So.
Oh, perfect. I'm looking forward to see something like this and more on your channel maybe, or in your shop in the future.
Yeah, I've definitely been wanting to kind of delve out of my comfort zone on my channel and kind of do some more of that artwork. It's a little hard because you're filming under a camera, so like you don't want your head to get in the way and like this and that. So it's harder for me to complete like longer pieces. But I did do my Stars in Her Hair piece, which was kind of dealing with some stuff that I was going through at the time. And I'd like to do more stuff like that because I was very happy with how that came out.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, it was really beautiful. I saw that.
Thank you.
And thank you so much again for being here, that you took time off from your busy schedule. I'm really happy about that.
All good. I'd love to be here.
And before we say goodbye, maybe you can share the last piece of advice or key takeaway for our audience, and then we say goodbye.
Yeah, my biggest advice for any like aspiring artists out there is to just not stop, because the way I see it is there's all of these people with this dream and they're all trying to achieve the dream, and quite a few of them are going to give up. So if you don't give up, you've already beaten them. Like, if you don't give up, you can already cut out like half of the people because they're going to give up. And, you're never going to get better at art if you don't practice. You're never going to learn how to draw if you don't pick up a pencil. So you just have to keep going. If it's something that you really want to do, just keep working at it, because you will not get better if you don't. So.
Perfect. And thanks again for being here, and thanks everyone for watching, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know in comments. Also, please subscribe to my channel for more videos because I post new interview every single workday. You can also find the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a little freebie waiting for you, so go check it out. If you want to listen to the interviews on the go, make sure to check out the podcast episodes at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and don't forget to inspire each other. I will see you guys in the next episode.